All right, we are back with Joey Pigza swallowed the key. And, we found out that Grandma did not fall down the sewer drain, but she's in Pittsburgh with Joey's dad. So, that's good. All right, chapter 4 is called Go Fish. Have you ever played that game, Go Fish? Pretty fun. I was sitting at my desk after lunch, and Mrs. Maxey had her back to us and was writing a long list of spelling words she had taken out of the Great Gilly Hopkins, which was so good I actually could listen to it for more than a minute at a time. But now that I had heard it all, I was playing with the house key that was on a long string around my neck. I loved touching that old brass key with the smooth round tip that looked like a tiny face. It was like touching something magic. I didn't know how it locked and unlocked doors. It just did. Mom had given me the key since my grandma wasn't around, and I got home from school 2 hours before my mom got home from work. She trusted me with the key, and we had a rule that I went directly home, and once inside I could do anything I wanted except light the gas stove, take a bath, make joke phone calls to strangers, or throw the baseball at the walls because it dented them. And once I was in the house, I was forbidden to step outside or open the door for strangers. This was okay with me because, like I told the doctor, the kids in my neighborhood were pretty mean. Once, a few of them caught me on the way home from school. A kid named Ford held me down and tied a leash around my neck. "Roll over," he hollered. And I did. "Play dead," he ordered. That scared me, and I jerked my head out of the leash, which ripped one of my nose holes so that it bled. But I got away. Now I don't open the door for anyone. I was messing with my house key, and before long I had it in my mouth, and I was playing a game. I was trying to train myself to swallow the key so I could slowly pull it back from inside my belly, up my throat, and into my mouth, like I was fishing for bottom feeders. It hurt to do it because sometimes the key got stuck sideways in my throat, but when I did it, I just gave the string a tug and straightened it out. The only other problem was that every now and again it made me gag so hard I almost threw up. Oh, Joey, what are you thinking? Since I was doing it after lunch, I thought it would be especially colorful because bits of pieces of food would stick to the key and around the string, and I'd suck them off and re-swallow them. Mrs. Maxey must have turned around, but I never saw her. I was still fishing and wondering if I could pull my liver up, or my kidney, or some organ we had studied in science, when suddenly Mrs. Maxey swooped down on me. With one hand, she yanked the string out of my mouth, which really hurt because the key was about halfway down my throat. Then with her other hand, she took the sharp, teacher-only pointy scissors and cut the string off the key and put the key in my t-shirt pocket. "Keep your mind on your work," she said, tapping the rule sheet on my desk. "Now sit up and listen." "Okay," I said, and quickly sat on my hands. As soon as she left, I pulled an old photograph of me out of my jeans and set it on my desk. It was a picture of me standing very still with my hands by my side and my eyes looking directly at the camera. I looked like a little statue. It's a wonder a bird didn't land on my head for a rest. "See," Mom had said when she gave the photograph to me, "this is proof that you can stand still. So whenever you feel out of control, look at this picture and it will remind you to calm down." I looked at the picture and stared into the little eyes and tried to remember what I was thinking when I was so still. But I had no clue, so my mind wandered, and before long I didn't remember about the string missing, and I plucked the key out of my shirt pocket and popped it in my mouth. Do you know what's going to happen next? I stuck my tongue out so Seth Justman could see the key from his desk in the next row. "What do you give me if I swallow this?" I whispered. "$1," he said. And he was good for it, too, because he wasn't on free breakfast and free lunch, so I knew he had food money on him. This would be a fast buck, I thought. So I worked up my mouth full of saliva and swallowed hard. And the key scraped down my throat a little sideways. But I did it, all the way down. I always wonder where book titles come from. Sometimes you find out. All the way down. I opened my mouth to show Seth, and he was pretty amazed and dug into his pocket and gave me $1. Then I reached for my string to pull it, and I realized, but I only felt my lips, and suddenly I remembered there was no string, and I hopped straight out of my desk seat screaming, "Mrs. Maxey, I ate my key!" Everyone spun around and stared at me, and Mrs. Maxey's eyes bugged out because she knew she had cut the string. "Oh, my Lord!" she shouted. She grabbed me and ran to Mrs. Deeb's room next door. "Watch my class!" she cried in a desperate voice, and then trotted me down to the nurse. Nurse Holyfield listened calmly to Mrs. Maxey, who was anything but calm. Then she unlocked a white cabinet and removed a small brown bottle and plastic spoon. "Ipecac," the nurse explained. "It'll make you throw up like a champ, I promise." She gave me a green plastic dish to hold under my chin. It looked like a wading pool for sea monkeys. Then she gave me a spoonful of medicine that tasted so bad it made me vomit everything I had eaten all last week. She stirred through the vomit with a plastic fork. No key. She gave me a second spoonful, and I gave her all of last year's food. Still no key. "Should we call the doctor?" asked Mrs. Maxey. "Nah," said the nurse. "At this point, it'll either cut him open or let nature take its course." "I vote for nature," I said. "I have a class to get back to," Mrs. Maxey said. "Tell Mrs. Jarzab he's down here and she can take care of him." While we waited, the nurse said she wanted to play a game with me. "I'm good at card games," I said. "Grandma taught me how to play poker." "No," she said, "I want to ask you questions, and I want you to answer them." "What?" I asked. I was still thinking about poker and how much I missed Grandma. "Well, you just answered my first question," she said. "Do you lose a lot of things?" It wasn't that I hated being asked a bunch of dumb questions. I had nothing against questions. I just didn't like listening to them because some questions take forever to make sense. Sometimes waiting for a question to finish is like watching someone draw an elephant starting with the tail first. As soon as you see the tail, your mind wanders all over the place and you think of a million other animals that also have tails until you don't care about the elephant because it's only one thing when you're thinking about a million things. "Do you lose a lot of things?" she asked. "Keys," I said, and gave her a big smile. "One day I lost my pants. I took them off in the bathroom and forgot where I left them." "Do you like animals?" "I love animals," I replied. "I want to get a dog." When Mrs. Jarzab, the principal, arrived, Nurse Holyfield talked with her out in the hall. When they were finished, Mrs. Jarzab told me to follow her. That's where we have to stop because it's a long chapter. These are long chapters in this book, so most of the chapters I think will be split in half or maybe in thirds. Fractions. Anyway, what do you think? He swallowed the key. Oh boy. What do you think's going to happen next? Where's he going with the principal?